Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Local St. Charles Podcast. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Greg Bardley. Greg he's got a lot of certifications and a lot of education and background that I'm going to let him tell you about. Very impressive. You are with Amari. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, how did you decide to get into Pedorthics, and what is Pedorthics and a Pedorthist, and why did you decide to start your business?
So the reason for getting into the field was actually my grandmother, who passed in 2005. So she was a type 1 diabetic, insulin dependent, on dialysis, and just due to complications with the diabetes and foot problems, she ended up going through issues with her feet, which caused amputation.
Okay.
And then I ended up working for a shoe store in college. And this shoe store was a running store that also had a Pedorthist on site. So I got to see him go through what a Pedorthist does. And it's funny how God or the universe works, because the same place that my grandmother went to get her therapeutic shoes and inserts ended up being the same exact place that I did my residency at and then worked for
Okay.
a while. So that inspired me to get into the field, because I had no idea what a Pedorthist was. I'm going to put that out there and say that. No idea. I always thought that when you see someone with bracing or a boot or post-op shoes, that podiatrists and orthopedic doctors did that. I didn't know there was a separate side to that did that piece of the work. So finding that out, I had to, I told myself I had to figure out how to do this, and figure out how to get into this field. So started off as a tech. So I worked in central fab for a while. So I actually learned how to build the orthotics, build the shoes, do all of that, then went to school and came back and did my 1,000-hour residency.
Okay.
So to answer the question on what is a Pedorthic or what is Pedorthics, so the official, I guess, definition is that it's the management and treatment of conditions for the foot, the ankle, and lower extremities, right? So it's to help alleviate any painful or debilitating problems or issues in the foot. But I guess to simplify it, the best way to say it is a Pedorthist is basically a pharmacist to podiatrists and orthopedic doctors, physical therapists. So if you have plantar fasciitis, heel spurs, ankle problems, knee problems, you go see a physical therapist, you go see a podiatrist. They do the official, diagnoses. They write the prescription, and then you come see me, and that's where I take over from there. So
Okay.
I'm the guy that actually gets you in the proper footwear, that makes the devices to help get you on, back to living life, basically.
Right. So you don't do any diagnosis?
No, I cannot diagnose anything.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I learn everything that a podiatrist learns, but I can't diagnose. You would have to have an official diagnosis from the doctor himself, the MD himself.
Okay. So can you serve people who just walk in off the street, though? Like,
Yes.
if somebody has flat feet and they know
Yes.
they have flat feet.
Yes.
So they don't really need a diagnosis. I mean, you can pretty much tell sometimes with
correct.
Flat.
So I can service anyone, walk-ins, appointment, any of that. The biggest reason for the prescription is if there is something serious going on. Like let's say it's a diabetic, they're getting a lot of pressure on the plantar or the bottom piece of their foot, and they have callousing or ulcerations are beginning to form. That's when the prescription is needed. But if someone has plantar fasciitis, or their heels bothering them, or they're complaining about arch pain, they can come in and see me and go from there. And then once I do the official assessment and gait analysis, then it's up to me to say, okay, this is something that, we can treat with an over-the-counter device. Or I may look at it and say, you might want to go back and see the podiatrist first and let them do a little more of a workup on you, and then come back and see me, and we can make the orthotic or the device from there.
Okay. So what about bunions? I mean, do you deal with bunions? And
I deal with bunions a lot.
all right.
And there's different treatments for bunions. The only thing is that when bunions start, sometimes it's hard to correct. So that would be like if you're wanting the surgical option or something like that, then again, you'd have to go see an MD. You'd have to go see a podiatrist. But there are different ways with the shoes and the devices that we can help to alleviate any of the pain, or keep it at bay, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Okay. You know, the feet are incredibly important. And I think a lot of people kind of gloss over this. I used to run back a long time ago, and I wish I still could. I don't have a lot of cartilage left in one of my knees. So, but you know, I mean, there are so many things that can happen, you know, when you put pressure on your feet that lead to other problems throughout the rest of the body. So it's really fascinating and amazing, you know, how much our feet tie into our overall health and
It's
well-being, and just the way we feel.
For sure, it's the foundation. Everything starts from the ground up.
Yeah.
You know, if you pronate, or if your ankle turns in, or the arch falls, ankle turns in, it you know, the knee turns in, hip turns in, or you know, rotates, basically can cause lower back pain, which is great because that's the whole purpose of proper footwear and orthotics, right? It helps to realign everything and get everything back where it needs to be in order for you to, you know, walk with comfort, basically.
So what about chiropractors? I mean, are they good referral sources for you?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay.
I would say podiatrists and chiropractors are probably the biggest referral sources, because obviously the podiatrist deals with the feet and the ankle, and then the chiropractor is looking at everything from an alignment standpoint, head to toe. You know,
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, when you mentioned hip, you know, I immediately started thinking about sciatica, you know, which is something that a lot of people go to chiropractors for, which is an alignment issue, you know, which probably ultimately can be traced in part, you know, down to the feet. So, okay, interesting. So tell me a little bit about your background and all your education. I mean, it looks like you love to learn, which I love to learn. So that's pretty awesome. I always get excited when I see it's like, holy cow, this guy's serious.
Yeah. So I wanted to be well-rounded in everything. So I spent some time in the corporate world, and you know, won some awards, sales trips, all that good stuff. Got my bachelor's degree in human resource management. Went back and obtained my master's degree in leadership. Being in the corporate world was great, but I realized that it wasn't where I was supposed to be. You know, so it drew me back to this field. And I realized that I was missing my calling. Someone that I know calls me a healer, basically. And everything starts with the feet, right? And then again, just with, you know, the background and what even introduced me to the field, I realized that I missed it. And I wanted to be back. Like, this is what I wanted to do with my life and for the rest of my life, was help people. Hence the reason that our name is Amari, Pedorthics and Orthotics LLC. But if you see, whenever you check out the website, it says restoring the rhythm to human capability. So that's the goal, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what brought me back to the field. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith. And I'm going to jump out on my own and do my own thing, which is what brought me to opening up my practice.
Okay. Awesome. And your website's amaristrength.com.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Which, fun fact, strength is actually Swahili, or Amari is actually strength for Swahili in Swahili.
Oh, really?
So that's where the name came from, strength, right? Like restoring.
Yeah.
That.
Awesome.
So that's where that comes from.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm board president of the Modern American Dance Company, and you know, I watch these guys perform, and you know, just incredible athletes, and I think, holy cow, what what strains they must put on their bodies and their feet. So so we'll definitely have to connect up with that and talk more about that at a later date. But cool. So yeah, I mean, I love hearing the passion that you have, and it's not an easy thing to go out and start your own business. So
It's not at all.
kudos to you. And I'm glad that we can help you, get a little bit of an audience here because, I don't know, do you have any idea what percentage of the population have problems with their feet? And one, and two, how much of that is diagnosed? And even if it's a gut feel,
I would say that, obviously we're on our feet constantly. And I knew you were going to put me on the spot with that. I can't think of the number right off of the top of my head, but I would definitely say that a large number of that percentage would be undiagnosed, to be honest, because a lot of people will have foot problems and think, play through the pain. I'll be all right. I'll rest my feet. And it isn't until it gets to a point where it's debilitating before they actually come see a podiatrist or someone like myself to alleviate that pain. So I would encourage anyone that's watching, go see your podiatrist. If you're having, foot problems, ankle problems, any of those things, go see your podiatrist, or come see me. And then we can do an assessment, do a gait analysis, and depending on what's going on, we can get you to the right podiatrist to further diagnose and go from there. So,
yeah. So that makes me think about workers' comp related issues as well. I mean, I would assume that, I know for a fact, many workers' comp related issues have to deal with, with feet and issues like that, especially people in the medical community, where they work such long hours and they're on their feet nonstop. I mean, they probably are a little bit more in tune to it. But again, if you're working 12-hour shifts, you may not always have time to stop and think about yourself. So I think it's really important to take that time out for sure. So, just you've already talked a little bit about this, but can you explain the difference between a pedorthist and a podiatrist?
Biggest thing is I can't diagnose anything.
Okay.
So I would definitely say if you're coming to see me, don't expect for me to diagnose anything.
Okay.
I learned everything somewhat what a podiatrist learns, but I can't diagnose anything. The biggest difference is, your podiatrist is an MD, right? So they're trained to diagnose, they're trained to look at the symptoms, look for the symptoms. They can prescribe different medications. Some do surgery for correction. If your fascia tendon were to snap, which it can happen. Very rare, but it can happen because really it's a muscle, and they can treat, they can do those things. All I do when you come in to see me is I take the treatment further after they have written the prescription and passed you on to me. So a lot of what I deal with is from a biomechanical standpoint. Okay. And I'm looking at it from a locomotive standpoint, whereas the doctor is more or less doing what a doctor does. So that would be the biggest difference.
So do you work with strength training or anything like that after?
I do. So I am actually a NASM CPT as well. So I do some personal training as well, and look at it more from a corrective exercise standpoint. Especially with runners, those that lift weights, you're squatting, different things like that. So not only can I look at it from that gait analysis standpoint, or look at it from how the feet or contributing to whatever's going on, I can also step back and look at the whole body and say, okay, once we get this aligned, this should, hopefully help alleviate some of that pain and go from there, and obviously help get someone back into the rhythm. Because I run, I probably run maybe 2.5 miles a day. I'm the guy that gets up and runs Tough Mudders and marathons, and I'm a gym rat, and I go and all of that. So I understand it personally, but again, because of my education and my background, I can also look at it again from a biomechanical standpoint, and the feet and the alignment, and understand where to go from there.
Yeah. So I know you can't diagnose, but I'm just thinking, if somebody wanted to be proactive, if they don't know if they have a problem or not, I mean, do you kind of help provide an assessment for them?
I do. It's a full assessment. So whenever you come into the office, What I do is we'll do a range of motion test. And I'm just going to leave it at range of motion test. You would have to actually, I guess, experience it or see it to, understand. But I'm looking at the foot. I'm looking at the ankle. I'm manipulating the foot and the ankle, the bone, just to see if there's limitation, how much flexibility is in the foot, how much flexibility is in the ankle, the toes. And then from there, I actually have a treadmill with, some cameras set up with a gait analysis machine. And then I'll have you actually walk on the treadmill so that I can actually look and see as you walk, how much is the ankle turning in? Where are you overcompensating when you walk, right? And then I also have technology from Atrix where I have you stand on a scanner and I do a 3D scan of the foot, which actually tells me where your pressure points are. So where you're getting most of the pressure on your feet. And then from there, I'm able to actually determine what type of device you need, what type of shoes you need. And if it's something more serious that I may say, oh, you may want to go see a podiatrist before we make the device. Let them get their eyes on you. That way, because they may see something, again, that I may not see. They do an x-ray or, something like that. And they may see something that says, ooh, okay. And then that way they can write the prescription and say, I like where you were going with this, Greg. Add this to the device. Maybe recommend this pair of shoes. And then we can take it and go from there.
So how does insurance work? Do you accept insurance, or do you have to have a prescription written by a podiatrist or somebody like that before?
You do. Okay. You do have to, in order for insurance to cover, you do have to have a prescription from a doctor. Now you can always come and see me and we can fill out the paperwork and then we can send that back to the doc and, submit to insurance and all of that. But the prescription is needed in order for that. And it also now, and I want to make sure that I make this part clear, right? Because this is something that is very important. It's something that I've seen over the years. It also depends on your policy and if that is covered, because sometimes insurances may only cover 50%. They may cover the whole 100%. They may only cover, it may be an 80-20 deal. So that's something that you would definitely want to look at. And we can do that, obviously, when submitting the paperwork. But I always ask, for clients and patients to do their due diligence also and make sure, with that. And sometimes it may be a reimbursement piece, right? Where you come in, we take care of everything. And then once the paperwork's filled out, we have the prescription, we do all of that. You can send it back for either a partial or a full reimbursement. So,
yeah. I mean, I certainly am not an insurance agent or anything, but it seems to me like this is a pretty low cost investment to prevent a lot of potential issues down the road. So you would hope that most insurance would take this pretty seriously and have pretty decent coverage. But like you said, you've got to check with every single policy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So let's see. In terms of orthotics, first of all, kind of talk about what are the typical foot orthotics, and second of all, what are like some of the misconceptions that people have about orthotics?
So there's different types of orthotics, but I'm going to keep it super simple and say that the two biggest pieces when it comes to orthotics is there's either functional orthotics or there's accommodative orthotics. Whereas functional orthotics are going to be more semi-rigid. They're made more for someone who's active, your runners, someone with a very high arch, to help in regards to those things. Accommodative is more of, okay, there is an issue with the foot. It may not necessarily be able to be corrected, but we can make you a device to make it more bearable. So It's really more or less accommodating and helping to alleviate some of the pain. The biggest misconception that I will say, and it's with anything, right? A workout plan, no matter who you go and see, right? It's with anything. A lot of people think that it sometimes is going to be a cure-all, be-all, right? And they come in and it's, oh, I'm going to get these orthotics and tomorrow I'm going to wake up and my plantar fasciitis is going to be gone, right? And that's not the case, because plantar fasciitis is overuse, right? And with the arch falling and collapsing and constantly torquing that tendon, it's an overuse. So just like anything, it's going to take time to heal, right? You got to look at it from the standpoint of if you were to sprain your ankle, right? I may put you in a boot. Doc may recommend a boot or put you in a boot, right? That boot is to help you heal, just like a cast is to help you heal. So an orthotic is to help you heal or prevent you from getting there, especially if you have a really high arch. A lot of the times what you need is something underneath there to help you from torquing that. So I think that that's the biggest misconception. And we can go into the different types of orthotics and materials that are used and all of that, but to keep it simple for the audience, really just look at it more from a functional or accommodative piece. Are we accommodating and helping to alleviate pain, or are you someone that runs 10 miles and this is overuse and we need to help you heal and get you back on track?
Yeah. So you talked about high arch, but what about, flat feet or low arches?
So flat feet are actually more common than high arches. The majority of the population are going to have what you call a medium-sized arch to a flat foot. And that depends on what else is going on internally. Because I have really flat feet myself. I wear orthotics myself. But my feet are very flexible. And me also being in the field and being aware of that, I know to put on the proper shoes and then those different things. A lot of the times what happens with flat feet is over time, your feet are going to change, right? And a lot of people, and this is a funny thing, I'll have people come in and I'll measure their foot and they'll tell you, I've been wearing a 7.5 my entire life, and I'm measuring them at a 9. Well, what ends up happening is over time, your foot's not actually growing. It's continuing to flatten and splay out. So that's normal. And that happens. And really, that's where more of an accommodative orthotic would come into play just to help, unless there's flexibility in the foot. If there's flexibility in the foot and there aren't anything, and there isn't anything serious going on, sometimes a semi-rigid can help as well, just to give you a little more of a boost and help. Because I actually wear semi-rigid myself. Like mine are a polyurethane plastic that I use. And it's, it helps with the spring when I'm running or working out or doing any of those things.
Yeah. I guess one of the things that again, I'm just speculating here, but it seems to me like a lot of people might think, okay, well, orthotics have got to be big and clunky and uncomfortable, and I buy a running shoe and I spend a lot of money on it. And now I have to get a sole, or an insole replaced. But I mean, I would assume a lot of people probably think those things, though.
They
right?
do.
So.
They do. And I, myself and other pedorthists that are out there, we can just about, and I want to make sure that I'm very clear on that, we can just about make an orthotic or device to fit any shoe.
Okay.
It just depends, though. Like you can't come in with stilettos and expect me to, make an orthotic for that. That won't work. But
yeah. All right. Cool. Awesome. So, so tell me a little bit about the CPT and your desire to move into, a nutritionist type of a role. How does that really fit into what you're doing?
That's a very good question. So I look at everything as a totality, right? Like it's not just specific to one thing, because the body is very complex. I've been into health and fitness my entire life. It's things that I've learned over time. So the goal and the purpose, again, is restoring the rhythm to human capability. So when you come in and looking at it from a biomechanics standpoint, once again, I not only want to help with your feet, but I also want to make sure that we get you back on track just from a lifestyle standpoint in general, because your fitness, your nutrition, it all plays a key in a lot of things. And I would say the biggest, I guess, patient population or demographic that I see is either runners or diabetics.
Okay.
Right. So with runners, obviously an avid runner, they take in their health and fitness, and not saying that not everyone does, but if you're an avid runner and you're running marathons and you're doing Tough Mudders and Spartan races and all of triathlons and all of these things, you take those things very serious, and you take your health and your wellness and nutrition very, very serious. So it's very serious. So again, for me, it was wanting to take another part of my passion and add that in to be able to help and also understand. I'm humble enough to say that, like, yeah, I've been working out my entire life, but I wanted to make sure that I had the experience and the education to go behind it, so that when I do get that runner that comes into my office and we're talking about it from a gait analysis standpoint or a biomechanics standpoint, and we're looking at those things, what does your workout look like? Also, how intense how intense is it? How often are you running? Is it, and looking at those things and being able to understand that to truly help them get to where they need to be. The nutrition standpoint honestly comes from the diabetic standpoint. My grandmother was a type 1 diabetic. My mother, my grandfather. So it's a lot. I'm surrounded with that. I see it daily,
Right. Yeah.
and so a lot of the times with type 2, and again, I can't diagnose, and I'm not saying that it's the end all be all, but again, with type 2 diabetes, a lot of that does come into play with diet and exercise,
Yeah.
right? And as you know, in America, we're the land of plenty. So sometimes we overindulge and et cetera, right?
Right.
So I wanted to be able to understand it from that standpoint. And actually, shameless plug really quick, and I'm sorry for doing this. So I also actually have a barbecue sauce that is gluten-free, no MSG, no high fructose corn syrup. And that was actually developed because I wanted, and it's dumbbells and barbecue sauce. We're in 82 Schnucks. Look for it on the local rack. I had to do that. But the purpose behind that was because, again, being in the health and fitness, understanding that you may have someone who is a type 2 diabetic and they can't enjoy a backyard barbecue, right? And so it was to be able to develop something where you could go out and still enjoy an afternoon with your family and friends during the summer and not have to worry so much about your macros, right? So I say all of that to say that that's where that piece comes in, and that's how that fits, and it's a movement that we're doing. My younger brother actually just opened up a gym in St. Peter's as well, called Amazing Fitness, him and his buddy Chris. So it's a whole movement that we're doing that is looking at it from that standpoint. But from me personally and where I fit, I wanted, like, the impact that my grandmother's situation had on me is very important, because again, when you're looking at it from a diabetic standpoint and you're looking at circulation and you're looking at lack of feeling and you're looking at diet and all of those things, it plays a huge part.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many potential issues that diabetics are going to face with their feet.
For sure.
My mom had diabetes as well, and she loved to sew, and she had pins. I'm not much of a sewer. I don't really understand this, but she also had throw rugs, and sometimes those pins get caught in those throw rugs, and then she wouldn't even she started to lose some feeling in her feet.
Yep.
And pin would stick in there, and then if it turns into infection, I mean, that's a really bad situation. So,
and that's how it happens. That's how it happened with my grandmother. Is so I definitely encourage anyone who is a diabetic out there, take those things serious. Very, very, very serious, because once you lose that lack of feeling in your foot, like Ken just pointed out, is that you may not know that something is going on with your foot until it gets to a point where you have to go see a doctor, or even someone like myself to help put you in a post-op boot or alleviate those things. The other thing too is that with being a diabetic, the immune system's compromised, so that it takes you longer to heal than the average person. So I would that's very, very important. For sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, the other thing about diabetes is, you mentioned we're in the land of plenty, but we also have massive food deserts in this country. And, Missouri has a big problem, as do many other states across the country, where the easiest, cheapest food that people can buy and maybe only afford just fuels a trend toward diabetes. So it's definitely something that I'm glad you're passionate about it, because it's something we need to figure out as a country, for sure.
Very true.
And I don't want to editorialize too much, but it is a problem, and I'm glad you're tackling it.
Yeah, trying to. That's the goal. That is the goal.
Yeah, cool. So a couple more things. It looks like you're partnering with Souls for Souls.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
So yes, so Soul for Souls is an organization where they take gently worn and used shoes, and it's all donated across the world, the diaspora. I couldn't tell you a specific country,
Sure.
per se. You'd have to hop on the website and look and go through all of that. But it donates, obviously, for those who don't have shoes, and then also is donated and helps certain countries and other countries start their own businesses and entrepreneurship, little boutiques of gently worn shoes and different things like that. And it's something that, again, is very important to me. A lot of people don't notice about me, but I'm a very charitable person. I just don't broadcast it because I'm not doing it to broadcast it. But being in this industry and dealing with shoes and inserts and those things and coming across that organization, I was like, this is an opportunity, like it fits, and this is an opportunity to give back and to have the community, get involved with the community and help the community help me give back as well. So we're doing a shoe drive on July 19th from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. So I encourage everyone to bring out their gently worn shoes and donate. And then also what I'm doing as well is I'm going to please, when you come and donate your shoes, write your name and phone number down. I'm going to put it in a box. And at 5 p.m. or, at the end of the hour, I'm going to draw maybe 3 to 5 names and do a free assessment here at, my practice. So that way you can come in and actually see what we've been talking about and what it's all about.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, that's not the only thing you have going on July 19th. You have a ribbon cutting as well to kind of kick off the opening of your business. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Very, very exciting. So I, obviously linked up with the chamber and city of St. Peter's, and we're going to do a ribbon cutting, and I'm going to have refreshments and again the shoe drive, and it's just an opportunity for anyone who wants to come out, the community to come out. You can take a look at the practice. I'll show you the scanner, and again, have some refreshments and some finger foods, and just kind of be there to experience the grand opening and the ribbon cutting. It's been a long road, so I'm very, very excited, almost like a 7-year-old kid in a candy store about this. This is super huge. So
awesome. If people wanted to drop off shoes before, if that time frame didn't work that you talked about, you said 4 to 5, I think on July 19th. Can they drop off their shoes earlier or even after that?
Actually, yes, you can. So I actually have a box right outside of my office, two boxes, and you'll see it. It's a red box. It says Soul for Souls. Okay. And you can bring your shoes whenever you want. This is just the shoe drive to truly kick off the drive, and do a really big kickoff for the donation. So, but you can bring the shoes anytime. The box is out front. I check it daily. So 1405 Youngerman Road. It's St. Peters, Missouri, 63376, Suite E. So you'll see it. The box is right outside the door. Just come drop off your shoes, and I'll collect them and ship them out to Souls for Souls headquarters. Yeah,
awesome. Greg, thanks so much. I mean, I really enjoyed talking with you. I love your passion. I'm excited for you to get started with your business, and I encourage our community to come out and help you out getting started, but because you're going to help people out too. So sure. That's pretty amazing. So any last thoughts, the best way for people to reach you?
Best way to reach me is via email. So that's going to be amari.strength87@gmail.com. So that's Amari, AMARI, and then .strength87@gmail.com. No social media platform right now. It's coming, but no social media platform right now, for Amari anyway. And you can also obviously reach out to me through the website as well, which is https, ://
Right. So, okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Greg.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you around in the community.
Okay. You as well.
All right. Thanks. Take care, man.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, goodbye.